Welcome back to the deep dive. We are here to take the stack of articles, research, and biographies you've sent us and transform that fire hose of information into the essential, distilled insight you need.
And today, we are strapping in for a deep examination of an actor whose name is not just famous, it's practically synonymous with this coiled, volatile intensity.
Alfredo James Pacino.
That's the one.
Yeah.
And that intensity is really the key. We have a mountain of sources detailing a monumental career spanning over 5 decades, officially starting around 1967 and, well, running right up to today.
So our mission isn't just to, list his movies.
No, not at all. We want to analyze the relationship between his really difficult origins, his unique training, and the seismic turning points that forged his cultural status. We want to understand the why behind the Pacino we all see on screen.
And when we talk status, we're talking about an echelon that very few artists ever reach, just to set the scale right out of the gate.
That's important.
Pacino is one of those rare artists to achieve what they call the triple crown of acting. That means he has won an Academy Award, 2 Tony Awards for the stage, and 2 Primetime Emmy Awards for television.
It's an achievement that bridges the world of, let's say, prestigious stage work with just massive blockbuster commercial success. It's incredibly rare.
And that commercial success it's quantifiable, too. His films have collectively grossed well over $3 billion worldwide.
He's a proven box office draw, but at the same time, he's a dedicated, serious artist. And the tension between those two identities, the blockbuster star and the dedicated, often struggling stage actor, that's what we really need to unpack.
So where do we start?
We have to start right at the genesis of that tension, long before Hollywood ever came calling.
Okay, let's begin at the very start, tracing the origins of that intense, almost hungry ambition. Pacino was born in East Harlem, April 25, 1940.
The only child of Sicilian Italian-American parents, Rose and Salvatore Pacino.
And there's this piece of trivia that feels like it was written for a film script. His father emigrated from San Fratello and his maternal grandparents. They emigrated from the town of Corleone.
It's the kind of detail that just gives you pause, doesn't it? A natural piece of foreshadowing, you could say. But the reality of his childhood was a world away from the lavish, if brutal, grandeur of the Corleone compound.
Very different. His parents divorced when he was only 2 years old.
Just 2. And his mother moved them to the South Bronx to live with her parents. So his early environment was marked by, well, instability and a lot of grit.
He was known as Sonny among his friends, but he also had another nickname.
The actor.
Exactly. He initially dreamed of being a baseball player, yet that performance instinct was already there. It was already active. Academically, though, he was floundering.
Completely. Our sources note he was considered a troublemaker at Herman Ritter Junior High. He's essentially dropped out of most of his classes.
Except for one.
Except for English. And that retention for English is a really strong signal, right?
Yeah.
An innate connection to narrative, to rhythm, to language, which is all essential for the theater.
But pursuing that natural talent meant a huge upheaval in his life. He successfully gained admission to the prestigious High School of Performing Arts by audition.
Which, unfortunately, put him directly at odds with his mother's wishes. She was completely against it.
And the disagreement was so severe that he chose his path over his home. He left at a very young age.
That choice meant embracing extreme poverty. This wasn't a choice made from a place of privilege. It was a sacrifice that put him right into survival mode.
So to finance even the most basic acting studies, he took on this relentless series of low-paying jobs.
Just an endless list.
Yeah.
Messenger, busboy, janitor, postal clerk. He was even a mailroom worker for Commentary magazine for a bit. He was trying to live this creative life while working the most tedious, exhausting jobs imaginable.
And that struggle, it coincided with a terrible period of exposure to substance abuse and profound loss.
The sources are very clear on this. He started smoking and drinking at the age of 9.
9. That's hard to even process.
And was using marijuana by 13. Now, he always maintained he abstained from hard drugs, but the tragedy surrounding him was just immense. 2 of his closest friends died from drug abuse during this period.
At what ages?
One was only 19, the other was 30.
That level of early life trauma, witnessing your friends essentially just vanish, it must have left an indelible mark on him.
Without doubt.
And what really stands out to me is the sheer precarity of his life then. Our sources mention he was often unemployed or functionally homeless.
Yeah, sometimes sleeping on the street or finding makeshift shelter in theaters. This was his reality. Not some dramatic choice, but a daily battle just for survival.
It makes his eventual success and formal training even more of a testament to his sheer will.
It really does. He first tried out for the renowned Actors Studio and was rejected.
Right, an initial rejection from the very institution that would eventually define his entire career. That's a powerful moment of humbling.
But instead of quitting, he pivoted. He joined the HB studio. And there, he met a man named Charlie Lawton.
Who became not just his acting coach, but his mentor and closest friend.
Exactly. He poured 4 years into that training at HB, just absorbing the craft, before he went back and successfully auditioned for the Actors Studio again.
And this time, he was accepted.
This acceptance put him under the tutelage of the legendary Lee Strasberg, a defining figure in American theater. And we should probably pause here for a second and define the method.
Yes, because it's so often misunderstood. It's not just intense acting.
No, not at all. Strasberg's technique was rooted in something called emotional recall. It's training the actor to use their own deep, often traumatic memories and sense memories to authentically fuel the character's emotion.
So if we connect that definition back to the trauma we just talked about, the abandonment, the poverty, the deaths of his friends, it means Pacino wasn't just performing intensity.
He was drawing on a deep well of lived pain. His art became inextricably linked to his own suffering.
That's the genesis. That's where the intensity we all recognize comes from.
Precisely. Pacino himself credited Strasberg and the studio with saving his career, allowing him to finally quit those soul-crushing, low-paying jobs. And the connection was so strong that Strasberg, years later, would appear as Hyman Roth in The Godfather Part 2.
The Jewish mob accountant.
And Justice for All, acting right opposite his former student.
A powerful, full-circle moment. But even as his professional path was clarifying, the personal tragedy it kept coming.
He suffered what he called the lowest point of his life when his mother died in 1962. She was only 43.
And then the following year, his maternal grandfather died as well.
He was only 22. Losing the two most influential figures in his life at that pivotal moment, just as he was dedicating himself fully to his craft, it must have been devastating.
But for a method actor, that level of profound internalized grief, it becomes the ultimate resource.
It's fuel. The coiled energy that defines Michael Corleone, the simmering rage of Tony Montana, it all starts in this difficult, disciplined, and deeply mournful period of his early life.
That profound combination of method discipline and internalized trauma set the stage perfectly for his move to professional theater. By 1967, he was working at the Charles Playhouse in Boston.
Earning about $125 a week, which, compared to his mailroom days, must have felt like a small fortune.
This stage work was his proving ground. In 1968, he starred as Murph, a volatile street punk in Israel Horovitz's play The Indian Wants the Bronx.
And that earned him his first significant critical recognition, the Obie Award for Best Actor. And critically, this is where he met Martin Bregman,
who would become his manager and his greatest advocate.
Bregman's vision for Pacino was just transformative. Our sources highlight his crucial role, explicitly stating he encouraged Pacino to take on 3 career-defining films.
Which were?
The Godfather, Serpico, and Dog Day Afternoon. That's a manager who understood that Pacino was not meant for ordinary roles. He saw the genius there.
And the stage success just continued rapidly. In 1969, he made his Broadway debut in Does a Tiger Wear a Necktie?
And despite the play running for only 39 performances, which is a commercial flop, really Pacino's individual brilliance shone through.
He earned his first Tony Award for Best Featured Actor in a Play. He had mastered the stage.
That mastery gave him the confidence to transition to film. After a brief debut in Me, Natalie, in '69, he had his true feature film arrival in 1971.
Playing a devastatingly realistic heroin addict in The Panic in Needle Park, the film wasn't a blockbuster.
No, but it showcased that gritty authenticity that Francis Ford Coppola was desperately looking for.
Which brings us to the moment that changed everything. The casting of Michael Corleone in The Godfather.
1972. The studio was adamantly against him. They wanted bankable names.
Yeah.
Jack Nicholson, Robert Redford, Warren Beatty, even Robert De Niro tried out for the part.
And Pacino at the time was virtually unknown to mainstream audiences.
A complete unknown.
That sounds like a terrifying gamble for a major studio picture. Was Coppola just recognizing some untapped star quality, or was it something deeper?
I think it was a blend of both, but mostly the latter. Coppola saw in Pacino the internal fire that was necessary for Michael, a character who is outwardly so contained, but whose soul is, well, it's dying on the inside.
Right.
Pacino's method training allowed him to portray a character who is constantly suppressing rage and ambition. This was a huge contrast to the flamboyant acting style popular at the time. He was doing less, but feeling more.
And that distinction is what made his performance revolutionary.
It was. And the performance earned him his first Academy Award nomination. So the nomination came with a huge controversy.
He boycotted the 1973 Academy Award ceremony.
Yeah, and this wasn't some petulant reaction. It was a deeply principled stand about the integrity of the performance and the role itself.
He argued he had more screen time and a more central narrative role than Marlon Brando, who won Best Actor for the same film.
Exactly. Pacino felt he'd been relegated to supporting actor status purely for political reasons, to not compete with Brando. It demonstrates this fierce dedication to his craft, prioritizing the reality of his work over the prestige of the event.
That principled intensity became the hallmark of his golden decade in the 1970s. He went on an unbelievable run.
4 Best Actor nominations between 1973 and 1979. It's an incredible streak.
Let's break that run down because it really shows his range within that intense character genre.
Okay, so in 1973 we had Serpico. Based on the true story of Frank Serpico, the incorruptible cop who risked his life to expose institutional corruption.
Here, Pacino is the isolated outsider, the moral man fighting the system. The intensity is contained, it's defensive, almost paranoid.
Then came 1974 with The Godfather Part 2. And this sequel did the impossible. It became the first sequel ever to win Best Picture.
And Pacino's Michael Corleone earned him another Best Actor nomination. I still remember the Newsweek quote that called it arguably cinema's greatest portrayal of the hardening of a heart.
That quote is iconic because it perfectly describes the arc that Pacino delivers. He uses the method to show the character's internal decay. The hopeful young man from Part 1 is he's gone.
Replaced by a ruthless, emotionally hollow commander.
There is virtually no visible acting going on. Just this chilling demonstration of absence and coldness. It's all in the eyes.
Following that, in 1975, he reunited with director Sidney Lumet for Dog Day Afternoon.
Playing John Wojciech, a desperate, emotionally theatrical bank robber, again based on a true, very bizarre story. And he secured yet another Best Actor nomination.
Dog Day Afternoon feels like the complete flip side of Michael Corleone.
It is. Wojciech is explosive, he's needy, he's utterly exposed emotionally. A total method explosion. Attica. It's all out there.
And he closed out that phenomenal decade with his nomination for the courtroom drama and Justice for All in 1979, You're Out of Order.
That famous scene, yeah. But it's important to acknowledge one key role he famously passed on during this time.
Kramer versus Kramer.
Right, which went to Dustin Hoffman, who then won the Oscar for it. So even at the height of his power, Pacino was making choices based on his artistic connection to a role, not just guaranteed commercial success.
Though sometimes that led him a bit astray.
Indeed. The early 1980s proved to be a bit of a hiccup. He took on some roles that didn't really resonate.
Like the controversial film Cruising.
Which generated significant protests from New York's gay community regarding its depiction of the subject matter. Then there was the less impactful comedy drama Author. A momentary derailment, maybe? But it was quickly followed by a total fiery course correction.
In 1983, he exploded onto the screen as Tony Montana in Brian De Palma's Scarface.
Say hello to my little friend.
Scarface is a classic study in how critical reception can evolve over time. When it was released, it was heavily criticized for its graphic violence and explicit content.
A lot of critics dismissed it as over-the-top sensationalism.
They did, but it grossed over $45 million domestically, and crucially, it found its audience later. It achieved this massive critical reappraisal, becoming a classic and a cultural touchstone.
And Pacino's performance as the Cuban drug lord Tony Montana, this creature of pure, unbridled theatrical fury, earned him a Golden Globe nomination. And unlike the contained intensity of Corleone, this was performance completely unleashed. He was using the method to achieve sheer, grand melodrama.
That character single-handedly pulled him out of that early 80s slump and cemented his status as a cinematic icon for a whole new generation. The story of Pacino is one of these constant artistic pendulum swings. Immediately following the high-octane success of Scarface, he chose a period epic.
Revolution in 1985, a film about the American Revolutionary War. And it was a spectacular commercial and critical failure.
A spectacular failure indeed. It was so crushing that it led to a 4-year film hiatus for him.
But this period isn't a story of a star licking his wounds. It's a profound insight into his dedication. When the commercial world fails him, he doesn't chase safe blockbusters.
He retreats.
He retreats entirely to the purity and discipline of the stage.
That's the key analytical point, isn't it? He used that failure as a catalyst for artistic renewal. He wasn't just taking time off. He was actively mounting workshop productions and starring in foundational works.
Like Shakespeare's Julius Caesar in 1988 for the New York Shakespeare Festival.
And when the press started circulating the narrative that his film career was waning, he actively refuted it.
He did, because for Pacino, the stage was necessary maintenance. It was where he could reconnect with language, physicality, and the immediate, honest demands of live performance. It was the fuel tank for his cinematic method work.
His dedication also extended beyond his own acting. He became a significant donor, a philanthropic supporter.
Alongside Paul Newman and Dustin Hoffman to the Mirror Theater Ltd., and sources state this was directly inspired by his loyalty to Lee Strasberg's family, reinforcing that commitment to the institutional roots of his success.
His film return in 1989 was Sea of Love, a very thoughtful choice.
It was a grounded thriller where he played a detective hunting a serial killer. It got solid reviews, and it signaled that the hiatus had refreshed his approach and his focus.
The early 90s marked a phenomenal resurgence for him. In 1990 alone, he got Oscar nominations for 2 colossal films.
First, the box office hit Dick Tracy. He played the scene-stealing gangster Big Boy Caprice, a flamboyant caricature that Roger Ebert specifically called out as being the highlight of the entire film.
He just chews up the scenery.
In the best possible way. And of course, in that same year, he returned as the cold, aging Michael Corleone in The Godfather Part 3, completing that epic cinematic saga.
So 2 major nominations in 1 year. It set the stage for the true historical anomaly that happened just 2 years later.
1992. This is where Pacino cemented his place in Oscar history.
He won the Best Actor Oscar for his performance as the blind, difficult, yet charismatic Lieutenant Colonel Frank Slade in Scent of a Woman.
Ooh. But the win is only half the story. The historical feat is almost unbelievable. Pacino became the first male actor ever to receive 2 acting nominations for 2 different movies in the same year.
He won Best Actor for Scent of a Woman, but was simultaneously nominated for Best Supporting Actor.
For his explosive, rapid-fire, unforgettable portrayal of Ricky Roma in the ensemble piece Glengarry Glen Ross.
That dual recognition speaks volumes about his command over both lead and supporting roles, and his ability to generate awards-caliber work even within an ensemble.
And Scent of a Woman is the ultimate method performance for his later career. It's loud, it's physically demanding, and it required total character immersion.
That mid-90s period was then marked by a lot of high-profile collaborations.
He reunited with Michelle Pfeiffer in Frankie and Johnny in '91, where critics praised his uncomplicatedly appealing performance. It was a rare moment of softness for him.
He also returned to Brian De Palma's hyper-stylized world for the crime drama Carlito's Way in 1993.
But the moment everyone was waiting for happened in 1995.
The iconic shared scene with Robert De Niro in Michael Mann's Heat.
Yes. They were both in The Godfather Part 2, but they famously never shared a frame of film. Heat finally delivered that intense coffee shop standoff.
It's a masterclass in 2 distinct acting styles. Pacino's explosive verbalism versus De Niro's contains silence finally colliding on screen.
Following Heat, he seemed to embrace darker, more theatrical roles. He was magnificent as Satan in The Devil's Advocate in '97, a box office success.
Ebert noted that Pacino played the role with a relish bordering on glee.
Which is perfect.
Yeah.
Then he played the deeply human, aging gangster Lefty in the true story Donnie Brasco, also in '97, opposite Johnny Depp.
He wrapped up the millennium with major supporting work in Oscar-nominated films, The Insider in '99, playing the 60 Minutes producer Lowell Bergman.
And Oliver Stone's kinetic football drama, Any Given Sunday.
This period is also where we find the most concrete evidence of his commitment to his artistic core, completely outside of commercial demand.
Right. He moved behind the camera, not to direct blockbusters, but to fulfill a deeply personal, almost academic mission.
Let's dedicate some serious time to this. He made his directorial debut with Looking for Richard in 1996. And this wasn't a standard narrative film.
Not at all. It was a docudrama, a hybrid of performance, a research project, and an examination of Shakespeare's Richard III.
It was essentially Pacino teaching the audience, and himself, about the process of interpreting Shakespeare for a modern American audience.
A massive undertaking. It featured stars like Alec Baldwin, Winona Ryder, and Kevin Spacey. And it really demonstrated his lifelong commitment to demystifying the stage. It was his way of refueling his own artistic battery.
And the dedication was so absolute that he self-funded his next directorial work.
The low-budget, 2-person film Chinese Coffee, which came out in 2000.
Self-funded?
Yes. Chinese Coffee took 3 years to complete, and was funded entirely by Pacino's own money. This is a critical insight for you, the listener. A man who can command millions for a film role is willing to use his own capital and 3 years of his life, a dialogue-driven project that offered zero commercial return.
It illustrates that the dedication to the craft he learned in those South Bronx theaters never, ever left him.
These rare, self-funded, self-directed works were later compiled into a collection called Pacino, an actor's vision. These are the blueprints of the true artist, away from the Hollywood machine.
So, as the new century dawned, Pacino made a crucial, strategically brilliant move. He embraced prestige television.
Right as HBO was defining the golden age of long-form storytelling.
And this move wasn't just about getting work, it was about his professional legacy.
Absolutely. It's through HBO that he completed that rare and revered triple crown of acting. He won his first Primetime Emmy for Outstanding Lead Actor for playing the terrifying real-life lawyer Roy Cohn in Angels in America.
That was in 2003. Winning that Emmy, combined with his prior Oscar and his 2 Tony Awards, placed him in one of the most elite groups in performance history.
It's a complete validation of his ability to excel across all media platforms, stage, film, television. He conquered them all.
And he proved that wasn't a fluke 7 years later.
He won his 2nd Emmy and his 4th Golden Globe in 2010 for playing the physician-assisted suicide advocate Dr. Jack Kevorkian in the HBO biopic You Don't Know, Jack.
These TV roles provided the high-stakes, dialogue-heavy vehicles that he just excelled at. It allowed him to maintain that cinematic intensity within a limited series format.
While the TV work was prestigious, his film output during this era was a classic Pacino mixed bag. There were some high highs.
And some surprisingly candid lows.
On the successful side, he starred in the Norwegian remake Insomnia in 2002, directed by Christopher Nolan, alongside Robin Williams.
And critics really appreciated his contained performance in that film.
They did. Newsweek praised his work, emphasizing that he can play small as rivetingly as he can play big, that he can implode as well as explode. He was showing audiences that intensity didn't always mean yelling.
He also seemed to enjoy playing the slick casino tycoon Willie Bank in the ensemble caper Ocean's 13 in 2007.
But then you look at the other end of the spectrum. He accepted a small role in the notorious critical and box office flop Gigli.
2003.
The sources are clear on this. This is strictly a favor to the director, Martin Brest. It shows that even legendary actors must sometimes fulfill personal obligations.
And he also starred in the moderately successful spy thriller, The Recruit, also in 2003, a film which Pacino himself admitted he personally couldn't follow.
That level of frankness about his own work is vintage Pacino. He's an actor more concerned with the creative process than the final marketing spin.
Which brings us to perhaps the most human and ironically comedic low point, the Golden Raspberry Award.
The Razzie. He took a role in the critically reviled comedy Jack and Jill in 2011 and won the Razzie for Worst Supporting Actor.
There has to be a story there.
There is, and it's the anecdote behind it that matters most. When asked why he took such a lowbrow comedic role, he explained it with pure pragmatism. I needed something quickly because his accountant had been imprisoned, creating an immediate and unexpected financial need.
Wow. It just demonstrates the harsh reality that even cultural icons are subject to the same kind of messy personal business problems as the rest of us.
In terms of highly anticipated collaborations, he shared the screen with Robert De Niro again in Righteous Kill in 2008.
Which, despite the massive excitement of that reunion, was unfortunately not well received by critics or audiences.
It wasn't until the end of that decade that we saw a major, sustained, late-career artistic surge. This really began with a great supporting turn in Quentin Tarantino's revisionist Hollywood epic Once Upon a Time in Hollywood in 2019.
And then the definitive late-career masterwork, Martin Scorsese's The Irishman.
2019, he played the infamous Teamsters boss Jimmy Hoffa alongside De Niro and Joe Pesci, earning his 9th Academy Award nomination overall.
What's fascinating about this performance, and what the critics universally lauded, is that Pacino wasn't just rehashing his iconic gangster types.
No, he wasn't. Justin Chang noted that the stars were at the top of their game, in part because they aren't simply rehashing the iconic gangster types they played before.
His Hoffa was a performance defined by political rage and bureaucratic authority, less the theatrical fury of Tony Montana.
And more, the simmering power of Michael Corleone, but with the volume turned up just enough to be terrifying.
This period also saw him embrace a recurring television role, starring as Meyer Offerman, a fictional Nazi hunter in the Amazon Prime series Hunters.
From 2020 to 2023, This was his first ongoing TV series role since his big success on HBO.
And he is clearly not slowing down. He played the scene-stealing Aldo Gucci in Ridley Scott's House of Gucci in 2021.
And looking ahead, he's co-producing and starring in the upcoming film Modi, about the artist Amedeo Modigliani, which is being directed by Johnny Depp.
So he remains an active, relevant presence. He even made a major public appearance presenting the Academy Award for Best Picture in March of 2024.
This immense body of work, spanning theater, cinema, and television, has naturally accumulated a vast array of lifetime honors that recognize his contribution to American culture.
The list is just definitive proof of his stature. The Cecil B. DeMille Award in 2001.
The AFI Life Achievement Award in 2007, the National Medal of Arts in 2012, and the Kennedy Center Honors in 2016. These awards confirm that his influence is recognized across the arts and government.
And just to circle back to the stage, the artistic bedrock of his entire career, we have to remember his second Tony Award,
which he won way back in 1977 for Best Actor in a play for the basic training of Pavlo Hommel.
And he was still returning to the stage, even in the 21st century.
He was nominated again in 2010 for playing Shylock in the stage production of The Merchant of Venice, a role he'd also played in the 2004 film adaptation.
And critics at the time praised him for bringing immense compassion and depth to Shylock, transforming a character often portrayed as a villainous caricature into something far more nuanced and tragic. It just shows his continuous dedication to artistic reinterpretation. So we've tracked the public artist of relentless intensity, but now we have to look at the private life, which is surprisingly distinct from his explosive screen persona.
For one thing, despite numerous long-term high-profile relationships, Pacino has, famously, never been married.
That's a crucial detail that seems to inform his character. He has 4 children with 3 different women.
He has an eldest daughter, Julie Marie, who was born in 1989, with acting coach Jan Tarrant. Later, he had twins, Anton James and Olivia Rose, born in 2001, with the actress Beverly D'Angelo.
And then, the massive, headline-grabbing milestone that occurred just last year. In 2023, he had a son named Roman with his partner Noor Al-Fala.
Pacino was 83 years old at the time. It made him one of the oldest recorded fathers in history.
It speaks to a man who, despite a lifetime of success, is constantly adding new, profound dimensions to his personal life.
His love life has always been interwoven with his career. He maintained a long, on-again, off-again relationship with his Godfather co-star, Diane Keaton.
A relationship that only finally ended after the filming of The Godfather Part 3.
And Keaton had wondrously specific insights into his magnetic personality. She called him the most entertaining man and described his face as killer face. He also had a decade-long relationship with Argentine actress Lucila Polak.
Given the volatile nature of his on-screen work and the difficult start he had in the South Bronx, it's not surprising to learn he struggled with substance abuse early in his career.
Particularly after the sudden jolt of fame brought by The Godfather. He was honest about it. He said he found the sudden, massive fame extremely difficult to cope with. It was overwhelming.
He admitted to abusing drugs and alcohol during this transition.
He did? However, he achieved sobriety in 1977. And that dedication to recovery must have been a key factor in maintaining the rigorous focus required for his relentless work schedule and long-term artistic output.
And finally, a very recent, profound personal reflection stemming from a health crisis. In 2024, Pacino revealed he was among the many who suffered a severe bout of COVID-19 back in 2020.
And he said he almost died from the virus.
That near-death experience provided him with a new, very concrete view on mortality.
He stated that the experience was transformative and led him to firmly not believe in an afterlife. It's a stark, rational conclusion from a man who has spent a lifetime channeling complex human emotions, tragedy, and desperation into art.
That brings us to the end of our deep dive into Alfredo Pacino, a man who transformed pain into an art form, and who, despite achieving incredible cinematic stardom, never stopped returning to the discipline of the stage.
That is his enduring legacy. The sources clearly show his career is defined by this fierce commitment to craft, validated by the rare combination of critical stage mastery, those 2 Tony Awards, and global cinematic stardom, proven by the Oscar win and 9 total Academy Award nominations. He is truly a force across all mediums.
So what does this all mean? Pacino's trajectory is a testament to the power of artistic resilience. When a commercial failure like Revolution threatened to derail him, he didn't pivot to safer commercial fare.
He retreated. He went back to his artistic roots, spending years immersed in Shakespeare, focusing on the process of acting rather than the product of Hollywood. He only returned when he felt artistically refreshed.
That pattern of self-refueling, often at his own expense, is the central insight here.
His willingness to dedicate his own time, his own money, and years of effort into non-commercial directorial projects. Films like Looking for Richard and the entirely self-funded Chinese Coffee, it shows a deep, almost underground dedication to the art form that exists completely outside the demands of his iconic blockbuster roles.
Which raises an important and provocative thought for you, the listener, to mull over as you revisit his work. Which Pacino is the truer embodiment of the artist?
Is it the method star whose tightly coiled intensity fueled the iconic, bombastic roles we all instantly recognize?
Or is it the experimental director and dedicated stage scholar who is willing to sacrifice huge financial opportunities to explore the deepest non-commercial roots of dramatic art?
Food for thought. We leave you with that kernel of contradiction, the star and the scholar, as you consider his immense legacy.
Until next time on The Deep Dive.